You know I've been around and doing it, but now it's my time to shine and start proving it. I'm losing it, I'm moving it. The city is where I'm made, Bostonian flow, I kick it back there. Yeah, I got game, got in a fan way. We the city of the champs, every sport we play. Spit wetter than the harbor, yeah, I'm flowing like the Charles. I be speeding on this beat, call it Turnpike Miles. Yeah, it's Google signing on, John to the Hancock, and I'm always key, I'm ready to unlock. I be doing big things.
Hey, I'm Greg Heeres, and I'm with Billy Jandeludis out of Boston, Massachusetts. Billy, great to have you today. I cannot wait to hear all that you're doing, some of the successes already and what you're planning on. So let's go back in time. So most people don't like speech class in school. They get butterflies and nervous and sweaty palms, but you went right into it. What kind of was your trigger to say, I would like to share news and content? I want to be an encourager. I want to be an educator. When you got into speaking schools and businesses, how did that start?
Yeah, no, I love that. I love that question. So I'm just like anyone else. Back in the day when we had a school project or something, you had to work with other people or be in front of the class, I would get that blush feeling. I would get the heat rush. I would get my palms really sweaty. And that continued on probably until high school. And then somewhere along the way, I found my confidence. And I think it came from I have a desire to help as many people as I can. That's been there from day one of my life. Yeah. And an opportunity arose where it was my senior year of high school and all of my friends were soccer players. I grew up playing soccer. I stopped playing and shift to basketball around high school time or so, but all my friends continued to play soccer, all my close ones. Senior year, you would love to go out on the best record you've ever had senior year. They started out 0-5. And I'm seeing all of my friends just yell at each other. The anger is rising. I'm seeing the coach, who's like a dear friend of mine, rip his hair out, whatever hair is left, if Steve Sheridan is watching right now. And so
shout out to the coach.
Exactly. He still coaches today. He's phenomenal. And I went into his office one day, just in the locker room. It's like, hey, Steve, maybe their friend can get through to them more so than the coach can right now. And he looks at me and goes, Bill, I'll try anything. And the next week he sat them down on the field and goes, hey guys, Billy's going to come in and talk to you. And everyone's like, what the heck is Billy doing here? Why? And they knew I'm a friend, but they didn't expect to see me there and have the coach create a setting at the center of the turf on the field. Right. I came in, and Greg, to tell you what I talked about, I blacked out. I knew my friends needed something, and I talked for maybe a half hour, and I called specific people out. I called the captains out and basically explained to them, like, I get it. You guys all want to be the star, but you're a team and you're now 0-5 and it's your final season together. Why not go out together? Why not continue to try and be a team to lead us to the championship? Something along those lines. And they ended up winning the next 7 games straight, made it into the tournament, made it to the semifinals, I believe. And I got invited to the banquet and everything like that. And all the team, the coach, like, Billy, we couldn't have been here without you. That was the moment where I looked at everything, where I used to be anxious stepping in front of an audience. And then I said, you know what? People need this more than my anxiety. People need this more than my stress or my own feelings right now. And so that sparked me to the point where the team still reached out to me to this day. That was in 2010, 2011. It's now 2023. I still get those players reaching out to Billy. Like, I remember that day. I remember everything. That sticks with me to this day. But the coach has said, Billy, you have a gift. You need to follow this. So went to college, studied psychology, found my way into the forensics practicum field, where we were traveling, speaking to different schools and competitions and whatnot, like the debate team and everything. Yeah. And I just found my way. And I knew in my heart, you're meant to be a speaker. You're meant to help people with these deeper messages. And for a young kid to say that, you bring that to a company or a business at the time, everyone's like, what would this kid know? But some people started to give me an opportunity. And so I started speaking in front of audiences, probably 24, 25, and now I'm 30. But pursuing that, crafted the message, crafted the speaking ability, crafted my skill and professionalism as a speaker to where I am now, speaking in front of a school or a company and bringing everything I can and just seeing the change happen. But it's been a blast from day one. I love every single second of it.
I love that. So I remember 30 years old. It's let me get my old calendar and no, I'm just great. So, but here's the thought on that one. A coach was in a position like a manager or a principal of a school.
Mm-hmm.
They were in a position to say, there's some needs out there, and I think Billy G can fill it.
Mm.
He had vision. And then after it went well, that coach said what to you again? You have a gift. So the gift is when you speak, most times audiences think, oh, they've got a big ego. Actually, they don't need an ego up there. You have to be able to connect with people.
Sure.
And those guys, the players connected. You rattled their cage a little bit.
Right.
You know, you get a little uncomfortable. So that message about kind of team unity, right? Organizational unity really fuels organizational vitality.
For sure.
Right? Unity, you have to have unity to have vitality.
Right.
We're talking about the players were complaining to each other, yelling at each other, probably hallways and whatever else. And you had to kind of get rid of that toxic behavior back then. So when you're working with schools, we'll go a couple routes here, Billy, today.
Yeah.
I'm so thrilled that we're doing this, and I hope the audience, however you share this, is encouraged that people care in a world where it feels like they don't. You know. So when you're preparing for a school, obviously you're a person of faith, you're a person of practical as well. Right. How do you kind of prepare, like, okay, let's go with a school venue. What do you go into it thinking, I need to touch on this. This is something I'm going to be very careful of, or I'm going to make sure the kids hear this. How do you do that?
Yeah, of course. Talking to schools, one area that continues to pop up is the mental health area. And I love coming in and trying to help kids understand their own ability to shift their own mental health, to shift their mindset for that matter. And so now I talked to a school yesterday about potentially coming in 2024 to help their school, but also help their teachers. So when I come in, I'm speaking on areas that all of us control on a daily basis, but forget that we control them. Your thoughts, your words, and your actions. 3 areas that determine your mental health and the level at which you're at. So I come into a school, regardless of age, most of the time, high schools and colleges really grab onto this because it's what we're dealing with. It's a transition to adulthood phase. It's what we wish we had when we were younger. Because if we came in and told people how powerful their mind is, I call it the universal tool because it can truly do anything. It can create anything. It can help you answer any question you have. It's like Google. You type a question in, it's going to give you an answer.
But you're saying this is Google right here?
I think Google's a carbon copy.
No idea.
Right?
Keep going.
I give the example though. Like we all have our supercomputers in our pockets now, our phones. And so when I'm in front of a workshop or a seminar, I explain to everyone, we all think the phone is the greatest thing in the world, but it's a carbon copy of what your mind's ability is. And so again, using Google, everything comes down to the questions you ask yourself and the questions you ask about the world around you. So taking that to talk, not just to a student, but anyone for that matter, what thoughts are you asking yourself? Meaning every single thought you have is a question that you ask yourself. What are you thinking about yourself? What do you think about the world around you? Is it in a negative direction? All right, well, that leads to negative mental health, meaning your mental health is starting to decline. That's why we see nowadays depression, anxiety, anger, sadly, suicides at an all-time high around the teenage area, the age group. But we come in and teach these kids to really understand you get to choose what you think about. No one ever told you to, because we most of the time leave ourselves on autopilot. Whatever society, social media, all these other areas tell us to think, we're going to think. Well, all right, well, what if I don't want to think the same as everyone else? What if I don't want to scroll through social media on a daily basis, but I actually want to go out and create something? I want to do something. I have a vision for myself that's greater than what my teachers thought of me. Your thoughts need to be moving in that direction. So then we move on to your words and we ask kids, what is your internal dialogue? What words are running through your mind on a daily basis? Because, you know, as you mentioned, the faith aspect, life and death can be found in the power of the tongue. And more often than not, we use that imagery as we can tear someone else up or we can tear someone else down. Or build someone else up, or build someone else, or tear someone down again. But at the same time, our internal dialogue is constantly talking to us. So if we look at ourselves in a negative direction, meaning our thoughts or perceptions of ourselves are negative, and then the words we use to describe ourselves and what we do are in turn negative, meaning I can't do that, I shouldn't even bother trying, and that's feeding your thoughts on a daily basis. Well, if we shift these two areas, you shift one, you start to feel better. You shift two, you start to see your life change just a little bit. And the last one is your actions. Well, if two are moving in the right direction, and then your actions are now more confident because you shifted the two areas to create change in yourself and your life, you're going to be more willing to get up and get moving towards these greater goals. And coming into a school system and teaching this to students, you see them take their power back. You see even the teachers that are listening in on this realize, oh my goodness, I needed this just as much. And I know, like, there's testimonies that have popped up, and I'll give you one example right now. I know we're going to talk about that as well. There was an event I got invited to speak at Blackstone Vocational Tech out in Worcester, Massachusetts. And I came in, prepared everything, and it was high school students, college students, and teachers. I get to speak to all different ages, and I loved every single second of it. And the beauty of that is there was, you put it out there to high schoolers, you get every personality type. And there's a kid that walks in at the end, and he sees there's 3 seats open in the back row, and there's 3 seats open in the very front row right next to me. And I see him, he looks at me as he walks in, I give him a smile. I go back to what I'm doing, but I'm watching him. He looks at the back seats, looks at the front seats, looks at me, and comes to the front and tells everyone, I'm usually the kid sitting in the back, but something about you, I'm going to sit in the front today. And I was like, all right, man, I appreciate that. Let's go for it. But that tells me this kid's got a great personality. He just became the guinea pig. So now he speaks up. I'm all right, man. So, I didn't necessarily target him in certain examples, but in going over our thoughts, our words, and our actions, and really helping these students and teachers understand the beliefs they stand on, beliefs about themselves and the world. This kid raises his hand halfway through and goes, I'm not going to lie to you. I can be very depressed a lot of the time. I can be very negative on this entire list you go over and whatnot. But there's something about you, Bill. I can't compete with your optimism. Everything you said is exactly what I needed, and I really feel this helped me. And then that sparked the college kids to start to raise their hand in the same moment. Like, you guys got to understand what Bill's talking about right now is exactly what we need. And that sparked the teachers, women in their 50s, men in their 50s, started raising their hands like, Bill, I know you're here to help the students, but I need this more than anyone else. And so what that did for everyone is show you, like, hey, it doesn't matter what age you're at, you still are in control of this, but we need to understand how in control we can be and direct it to what we want. Because if we don't try to control our mind and shift it to certain areas or direct it in certain areas, we leave it on autopilot for the news, society, for environment, for everyone around us to tell us what to think and what to do. But it's on us. That's the beauty of life. It's on us to decide. But it's incredible. It's a great moment.
I was listening to one of my favorite leadership gurus, John Maxwell. I'm not putting a prop to him. We'll do a prop to the coach in your high school, but
there we go.
John's an amazing man. But I was just listening to a really short little vignette. He was on stage and he said, the power of your routine, the everything on where you're going. And you went through thoughts, beliefs, and then the actions piece. And it breaks it down, right? Your thoughts to deliver some, you believe it, you think it now, and then all of a sudden you start acting it, whether good or bad. And his was about your routines. If I followed you around, that's what his challenge was to this person interviewing him. So John Maxwell says, if I followed you around for a half a day, I can tell you where you're going.
Yeah.
And I'm like, how insightful. So let's switch to businesses real quick regarding feedback, because you've got some stories that you just shared about faculty, college, high school kids. So you do a presentation, you talk, you lead a conversation at a business. How do you get the feedback from a business? Because sometimes they can be a little stuffy depending on the industry or the office culture, right? How do you get them to do what you shared regarding the school? Like, the teacher's like, I'm 50 some years old and I need it as bad as that kid who has pimples and 15.
Right.
in a corporate, a business setting, how does that come back? How do you reach them that way? Like you
Yeah,
did?
of course. The beauty of the corporate setting that I've been blessed to become a part of is a lot of companies bring me in to help in their mental health areas, because we're seeing it's not just teenagers anymore. The stress in the world, oh my goodness, everyone is all over the place. And so
Mm.
stress management, truthfully, I call it rejuvenating the workplace. Is how I define it to companies, because right now, if
Say that again.
rejuvenating the workplace,
Excellent.
right? Right.
Like,
And that's exactly what this is, because we can, as much as we can see teachers, college students, high school students in those immediate moments where they're learning something new, rejuvenate, what it does is it brings them back to themselves. So they then can make greater decisions and where to lead. So in coming to a company, a lot of companies, when they invest back into their employees, it builds morale, it boosts morale, but now employees are more apt to give more back to their company when they realize their owners and their bosses like, hey, you know what, we want to give you time today. We're gonna bring Bill in, rejuvenate the workplace, stress management. We know you guys have been struggling right now with all the to-do list and everything you gotta get done. We want to give you this time. So then I get to come in and teach these areas on the mind and really help employees grasp how they can shift their mind in the workplace, but also, I believe, outside of the workplace. Because when we start to impact the internal, meaning what you're doing outside of the daily schedule, what you're doing for you, understanding the mind and how to boost yourself and how to make sure you're living at a level of peace rather than stress, you then are able to walk into any setting, work, family, friends, gym, whatever it is, your best self.
yeah.
When we're walking into all these different meetings and you have the to-do list and the schedule keeps adding up Monday through Friday and people that work on the weekends, that just, if you're not in the right headspace, starts to break you down and break you down and break you down. And then, you know, we live on the wheel right now where Monday through Friday, we learned that has to be the work days. You get Saturday and Sunday to yourself, or Saturday and Sunday has to deal with all the other parts of your schedule Monday through Friday you weren't able to accomplish. So now your work or everything is powering back into the weekend. There's no time for you. So for a company to come in and say, hey, you know what, we want to give back to our employees, we want to bring Bill in and give them time for themselves here and now in a personal development type seminar to help them really connect back to themselves, but understand their mind to how they can walk into their meetings and their leadership concepts from a greater standpoint. That's the beauty of it for me, is because one, now the entire company is going to grow because you're revamping the workplace, but you're revamping your employees. And when an employee is in such a great headspace, the results that they output are much higher than if they're living from a stressful state, right?
What you're kind of speaking of is when someone maybe is not as optimal production, their brain and their even how they feel is sluggish.
Right. Yep.
Let's use that word, sluggish, right? They're not sharp, they're not kind, they're not open, they're not industrious, they're not inventive. It's like, I just got to do the task. I like that, the culture piece. I know it can be a trite word,
right?
Rejuvenation of a person, like, so you're almost rehab, right?
Yeah, it's true.
So we're injured. Stress is injured, right? Anxiety is injured. And so you need to rehab, rejuvenate, you have to get better. You know, and sometimes you have to get better. Like, I'm going to give up fast food. I'm going to give up smoking. The doctor says my weight needs to go down. So you make some changes, but it was because the doctor said it. What's kind of cool is you can come into a company or a school and you can challenge and put some things out there that make sense to them, that now they have a moment to reflect. Self-care. Yeah. I am tired.
Right.
I'm getting off that gerbil wheel.
Exactly.
And that's what an owner or leader or a department at a company who says, you know, I'm in charge of training or, you know, staff development or whatever, events, whatever categories you consider, who would invite you.
Right.
I find it fascinating, Billy, that people can point out someone else who isn't doing well. But it's very hard for us to do it for ourselves. And what a great start. Start with us. You know?
Exactly.
All right. So could be a school, could be a business situation. The last time you spoke, what was your aha for what you saw the audience rally around?
I get that. Yeah, no, I love that. One area that I spoke to, I'll give you the background, spoke to ABC Fitness, phenomenal company. They own a lot of the gyms around the world. And I came in for their World Mental Health Day, and they want me to speak on mental health. But when I speak on mental health, it's not from the concept of, hey, this is mental health. This is what we need to understand. My thing is, hey, mental health is a part of humanity. It's a matter of us shifting where we are now to be able to get to where we want to be. So we're bridging the gap. So when I spoke to this company, I came in and I basically explained areas I've touched on that in talking about the schools and companies and whatnot. But I love teaching what is called the emotional guidance scale. And I worked in the therapy field for over 7 years. So that built up a lot of background with me, leading into becoming a coach, being trained by Tony Robbins and his team of therapists to be able to do what I do now. So I have all this knowledge on it. And so the emotional guidance scale is a list of 22 different emotions. Are there more? Yes and no. But this list is basically broad enough to show you, hey, you might fall into fear, grief, depression, anger, contentment, peace, joy, love, gratitude, whatever it is. But it allows me to show everyone, hey, look at this list of 22 different emotions. Where do you fall on a daily basis? And for the company, it allowed every single employee to have a moment with themselves and truly decide, well, I do sit around grief a lot, powerlessness. I sit around depression. But now Bill's telling me I can take these steps to move up the ladder, where I don't have to live in this state anymore. And then there was aha moments around. It was a virtual setting. And when I'm speaking in a virtual setting, regardless, Zoom, Teams, whatever it is, I see the chat bar on the bottom of the screen. And this thing was blowing up left and right. Oh my goodness, I needed this. That's exactly what I was looking for, blah, blah. And so I'm doing my talk. So I'm like seeing this alert pop up. But I stay focused. I'm doing my thing. And I go back and read it after the gig, and everyone, I'm seeing like, oh my goodness, this was the answer. This is exactly what they needed. And then the woman that hired me from the company, she called me right after, Billy, oh my goodness, everyone loved that. We have to bring you back. Is there anything we can do? And we're talking to potentially have me be the quarterly professional development seminar that they have, which was beautiful from that. And I'm grateful. I'm eternally grateful for that. It's a major blessing. But it just shows the need for not just one company, but all companies. Everyone's living their own life. Just because you call yourself an employee doesn't mean you have things outside of your work life that need to be addressed. And it's very often, especially working in the mental health field for so long, we carry everything everywhere. So if work is stressful for you, it's a very good possibility you're going to be bringing that home. Or if the home is stressful for you, it's a very good possibility if you're not in control of that, you bring it to work. And you might be able to put the mask on and carry yourself well in front of other people, but you start to see little tweaks start happening because whatever is outside of the workplace that's affecting you is now affecting who you are at work. And it's allowing these employees to really separate that. Like, all right, I got to heal myself before I can get the results I'm looking for. And when the company invests time into that, you start to see the entire company grow.
A couple minutes ago, you said something about life is mental health.
Yep.
How did you get to that conclusion?
Well, if you think about it, we identify mental health now as in bringing a mental health speaker here or there. Everyone has thoughts. Everyone has emotions. Everyone has, you get deep into it. Everyone has a spirit. Everyone has a soul. Mental health is a combination of all these areas. So a baby has mental health. They're trying to figure out what thoughts run through their head. It's more so, I'm hungry, I need to be changed, whatever it is. So they cry. It's a reaction.
Stop with that. Hey, the baby needs to be changed. As we get older, we do too.
There you go. Right? It's so true, though, in every single moment, right?
Not today. I'm fine today. Don't worry. Don't send me Depends for Christmas, please.
Hilarious. It's awesome. But it's true, though. So I heard someone recently describe mental health, and they're another mental health speaker just as much. It was a great conversation we had. And they said that they get brought in to explain mental health, but they only looked at mental health from a negative place.
Yes.
Right? Yeah. Mental health is humanity. Everyone has thoughts. Everyone has emotions, as I said prior. But that's the beauty of teaching this emotional guidance scale, because my mental health stays at a level. And I've been blessed to put personal effort into this. I believe God blessed me with the opportunity just as much. I now live at a state of either joy or peace. Does that mean I sink? Of course. Do I have low moments? Of course. But I bounce back up and I stay at that level of contentment, peace, and joy. And if anyone here is faithful or scripture or reads scripture, they tell us to do that. Jesus tells us to live at a level of peace, to stay at a peaceful level. But aside from spirituality concepts, if my mental health is in a good place, I'm still talking about mental health. If someone's mental health is in a low place, a negative place, we're talking about the same thing. All right, well, if we're all talking about the same thing, let's shift it. Well, we can. And I think a lot of people today look at mental health as uncurable, as something that's out of their control. And I'm like, well, who told you that? It's just something you don't know. And you just, let's ask the right questions to get the right answers. But at the end of the day, it's something we can shift. And when people understand that, that's a life change waiting to happen. And it's beautiful to witness.
Don't steal this, but you can permission. But anybody listening can't steal it. I'll have them sign an NDA. I've said this before, Bill, and I want you to react to it. Everyone needs a counselor, therapist, whatever categories, and everyone deserves a coach. Because at some point, you go from 20s to 30s to 40s to 50s to 60s, things are changing, right? Opportunities. We've added family. We got married. We bought a bigger house, got a bigger mortgage. One of our loved one passes away and our holidays aren't the same. So we go through these decades with all kinds of changes, yet we assume we're not going to change. I wonder about just being free to say, if you're seeing a counselor, that's awesome.
Yeah, for sure.
Versus what's wrong.
Yep.
Right? Well, if we don't see the counselor, yes, it'll get wrong. Right? We'll become our own worst enemy. So maybe play with that a bit. So it's okay. The taboo in society is kind of what you're also facing, right? When you talk to, whether it's a company or a school, it's the taboo of, I think he has some mental health issues. I would like to say we all have mental health issues. The issue is, do they stay permanent? Do we sit in the mud, right? Or do we not have a tribe or a huddle to come around us and lift us out of the mud because we just can't go, right?
Exactly.
I wonder about, you talked about, if it was ticker tape or the feedback on the bottom of the screen of everybody commenting. It's almost permission to say, yeah, I guess I haven't been okay.
Exactly. Right. That's the beauty of coming into a company or school, but coming into a company, and more often than not, you're going to have ages that are higher than 25. The beautiful, it's work. It's after college, everything like this. So you have all these different ages, but along in the world of the workforce, you forget about yourself. I think you have to be, and essentially speaking, you kind of become a robot where I have to show up to work and be my best self, and I have to go into this stuff, and I have to go to these meetings, and I have to do this, I have to do this task, I have to do this task. And it's the wheel, as you mentioned earlier, it's the wheel. So giving employees even just an hour, heck, 10 minutes of this hour seminar for that matter, if given longer, it's given longer, but say 10 minutes, they get to actually look at themselves and be able to say, you know what? I'm not okay right now. I need this. I need to hear this. And that's the beauty of it, where the teachers at the schools that were saying, Billy, I need this more than the students needed, or the employees blowing up the chat room and saying like, oh my goodness, this hit home for me. It's exactly what I needed. We're finding that in the working world, the self of the person, that the employee is not focused on, is not addressed. So having me come in, having someone come in and help them understand, we got to give time to this area so they can grow, they can rejuvenate, but then that rejuvenates the results their output is bringing to the company. So you start to see a company grow. And that's the beauty of helping all these people, no matter the age. Everyone's dealing with something. Everyone's going through something we know nothing about. But to provide them tools, even if they don't have to acknowledge what it is they're going through to the class or the company, whatever it is, as people don't want to share, understandably so. They can still learn the tools and apply them in their own way, and that's still a better person after that. It's phenomenal.
I was a part of a very large partnership in a company, and we had about 155 employees, Billy, and
Mm.
we gave free EAP counseling to staff.
Okay.
They never took advantage of it.
Yeah. Wow.
Until
Mm.
I had a change leader.
Okay.
She said, "Hey, I'm not doing well. I'm going to use the EAP and I'll give you feedback."
Mm.
The partners were like, "Cool."
Yeah.
They came back, "Yep, changed my life. I'm going to tell everybody in the office they need to go to this EAP."
Mm.
Sometimes you got to just bust the gate down, right? So when they bring you in, you kind of knock the wall down,
Yeah.
the cubicle down. So like, we're human, right? I have a question for you regarding the balance of, we try to be tough, right?
Mm.
We show weakness, particularly in companies, businesses. Yeah, you can't cry at work. Well, I'm going to wait till 5:01 to cry. What is that? But that balance of, we have to be tough, and then the other time is, I'm always hurting. I'm always a victim.
Mm.
You balance that where someone is probably not doing well and they're not addressing it, and someone's always, crying wolf, and then somewhere in between. So as leaders in businesses, how do we help that person who cries wolf, maybe, likes the attention sometimes, and then some person who is just stubborn and like hard-headed, and we know you're not doing well, Greg, but it's okay. I'll just muscle through it.
Right.
How do you bring that together when you speak?
Yeah,
If
of course.
I made sense.
No, I completely understand what you're saying. There was a gig I did recently this year where the company asked me not to come in and speak on mental health, but to speak on leadership. And I came in and I addressed what I like to call the blueprint to a confident leader. Because in the concept of leadership, you mentioned there's a leader that comes in and they need to go talk to who is ever having a bad day,
Right.
and they're struggling. So it's on that leader to share something to them, to connect. The beauty of that is that the leader can only attain the level of leadership and confidence if he is at his own strong level. His not strength is you got to power through. Strength is in he's at a good place emotionally, right? Where he can handle whatever is put on his task. To have someone come in, you mentioned earlier in a different question how we need to have counselors and we need to have coaches. It should be a regular thing, basically, to have people in your life. For a leader in a company to come in and see that, I don't know, Steve is struggling right now.
Yeah.
Steve is about to have a breakdown. Well, he needs to wait till 5 p.m. to have his breakdown. No, if the leader comes in and connects, hey, if Greg comes in, hey, Steve, what's going on? And you take just a 10-minute period, whatever it ends up being, yes, out of the workday, which might be a red alert for some business owners right now, but to have a 10-minute period where Greg can sit and talk with Steve on a human to human basis, you're healing Steve. Greg is at such a great place, and then he can pull Steve up to his level by giving his time, because and especially in the mental health field, but on a human to human basis, we're supposed to connect. And in the workplace world, if we're so focused on the task and everything, which we need to be, we need to get the do list done and everything, but connection's a part of it. You're around people on a daily basis. Right. That's the tough thing with younger ages. The social aspect of the world, social skills are kind of falling apart because we're all constantly on our phones and computers and everything. But to be able to connect to another, you're helping another as much as you're helping yourself in those moments.
I write books and as well, not in your venue. I'm probably not as good. I'll probably have to live another 172 years to be as good as you, but it's great to learn with you and interview you and share really how you're going to use this to encourage others to, talk with you and talk about mental health, et cetera. The word that comes out to me, and I like wordsmithing, so bear with me. We're not very good at empathy.
Yep.
So you spoke about, a person like myself in that little scenario, the fable of, Greg checking on Steve.
Yeah.
But there's got to be something in me that I need to develop.
Right.
If Steve's struggling and I'm not, I need to use what God gave me. I have to understand. I have to kind of put those shoes on. And then I really think, dare to be empathetic.
Sure.
Like go to the office and say, hey, Steve, you got a minute? Yeah, what's up? I just noticed, and I want you to know I notice you.
Right.
And I don't like seeing people struggle.
Right.
So if you are struggling, I'm here.
Yeah.
Greg, I'm glad you came in, and then it goes. But empathy, it's something that culturally, whether it's a pastor or a principal or a sales producer, or whatever partner in a company, we all have to work on empathy, because sometimes we get on that wheel.
Yeah.
We
Right.
just put your head down, run,
It's true.
and don't pay attention. Like maybe you're an athlete, I'm an athlete, and I've done exercise, you run outside and you're like, I didn't even look at nature.
Right.
I went on a 3-mile run and didn't observe anything.
Right. Yep.
And I think that's what is the silly part of this. So
Yep.
I've been around a lot of people who are going to have bad necks.
I get that.
This is the posture I see almost everywhere.
Yep. Right.
And to do this, like, oh, that hurts. Well, no kidding, because your neck's down.
Exactly.
But I think so. Empathy. How do you invite the audiences that you get to meet? You're in a company boardroom or a lunchroom, or they rent a venue. You're at a school gym or whatever wherever they have you. How do you touch on that beacon call of empathy to them?
Yeah, of course. And I think it's helping people understand there's sympathy and there's empathy.
Yeah.
Empathy is being able to connect and feel someone else's emotions, feel someone else's pain, feel someone else's joy and love. In deeper workshops and seminars that I've been blessed to be able to do, you start to understand your emotion. Is kind of where it connects to your question of the employees and how bringing them together in the empathy aspect. In the emotional guidance scale, as I listed it for you, have all these different emotions. Based on where you focus your mind, all the thoughts that run through your mind, what you're really focusing on the majority of the time, the word emotion, dating back through history, thousands and thousands of years, stands for energy and motion. That's where the term emotion comes from. You direct your energy that is in motion based off of where you direct your thoughts.
Right.
So when we have these companies, employees in a boardroom or in an auditorium or a big room, whatever it might be, and we allow them time to identify, what do you normally think about? All right, what do you want to think about? And then what do you speak about, and going through the whole process that I described earlier.
Right.
It allows them one time to be themselves, but if allowed the time, they can converse together. So Susie can talk to Stephanie about whatever it was, and then they can build together. So in building together, whether in a company or school, whatever setting it is, you're building empathy because you're feeling someone else and what they thought. So we need to build communication skills to be able to see the perceptions of others, so we then can connect to others and grow together. A company that grows together is a company that lasts together, but we need to be able to connect to each other on different feelings and where we're at. And it's incredible to see the growth of it.
I got a couple questions left.
Yeah, for sure.
One, probably both settings, school and business.
Yep.
Trust.
For sure.
So play with this thought. As trust goes down, does mental health follow?
Oh, I agree. I believe so. Yeah.
Right. And if trust goes up, does growth increase?
Yes, definitely.
So you have a negative if trust is jeopardized, right? And if trust starts to accelerate in a company or a school, the person should be able to think, believe, and act different. How do you share that when you speak? Because trust is that's where people do like this. Well, I can't trust anybody. So they close in all their self stuff.
True. Yeah.
Right? So empathy to trust. Share a little bit about trust and how you help a company culture or a school environment in that area.
Yeah, for sure. I agree with you. It's tough for people to open up and explain to others how they're feeling or what they've been through, and it's understandable. It's something that I believe, like with me and you, we're speakers, we're open books essentially, but because we're open books and we can look at our stories, everything we've been through, goods, bads, everything in between. We can look at our stories and be like, you know what? I learned so much that helped me get here. I love every single second. I love every second of the pain I went through because it allowed me to become the person I am today.
Absolutely.
So we look at our past and be like, you know what? This helped me. Maybe it can help someone else out. So we open up as a book would do, and we are willing to trust others with our story because we believe it can help someone else out. So bringing that to a company or a school and teaching the people to really like, hey, have a moment where you're willing to open up. That can only come when they're willing to open up themselves, as you and I did with our stories. We had a moment with ourselves and said, you know what? I get it. I see why I went through that because it was crafting this. It all worked together. It's, Romans 8:28. We can stay on that topic. It all worked together to bring me to the man I am today. All right. If that helped me, I didn't go through it just for myself.
Yeah.
That's for someone else out. But we had to have a moment where we're looking internally. And when coming into a company, we have the whole thing starts out with an internal look at yourself. What are your goals? Where do you want this to go? Where do you see yourself? If today, who you are and your goals over here, this entire summer is going to help you bridge the gap between who you are now and who you want to be, and where you are now and where you want your life to be. So there's an introspective purpose at the start of every seminar. And then that allows them to open up to others because they already opened up to themselves. Does that make sense? It's like they have a moment to connect, and then they can connect to others because they're like, you know what? This helped me. I needed this, right?
You triggered a thought, and then I'm going to finish with what's next.
Okay.
I love what's next. So if trust is something key to see not only yourself, you have to be honest with yourself, you have to trust yourself, right? And then if you figure out the self-awareness, like I know sometimes I can be loud. I can come in a room and not participate. I sometimes can work too hard and I lose my fuel. I got a little short on the phone when the customer asked me about my holidays and it's the worst time of year for me, whatever those stories are. One of my favorite personal author friend of mine is his name is Patrick Lencioni. Hi, Patrick. And he's got a book called Get Naked. No, it's not mommy porn, but Get Naked is about a leader, which is about how you would, whether you're a leader on a school campus, student, or faculty, in a business, we have to convey a trusting setting, and we can't pose and pretend ourselves because they don't believe us. It's hard to follow. That's the precept of that book, Getting Naked.
Yeah.
Well, I think self-aware is where you're getting. And so when you have a testimony, you've shared them with me before, and even on this interview, the self-awareness, the aha, give me one story before we talk about what's next. So like a succinct story of maybe someone saying, yeah, I had to come to grips with something. What was that?
Yeah, for sure. I had a man, he ended up becoming a client, gig turned into a coaching client, which was phenomenal. I love that because, having the coaching background, one-on-one sessions are incredible where we can dive deeper. So in the seminar, it opened up to reasons to why his anxiety is so bad. And it's a struggle for him to get through the day. And he always feels this tightness in him. And he always wants to people please. And he always, all these different areas. And he identified that through the seminar. And then that started the aha moment. It was kind of elongated aha moment, but I love the guy. He's come so far. And so in working together in sessions, we were able to deepen that aha moment to the point where he sees his upbringing. And his upbringing that sparked the anxiety to what's been piled on and pushing it down to where he was going to burst now. And then coming to the seminar, you identify like, hey, I have this. I get where it started. I want to get rid of this. And that's the beauty of the healing process. Whether it's a coaching session or a seminar, people are having aha moments across the board, but it is self-awareness. And I think that's what people need to grasp is self-awareness is something we all need and something I think you need to constantly grow, but self-improvement encompasses all of that. But again, it's pointing you back to the self. All of our goals that we have stem from something inside us, and wherever that leads, the beauty of studying psychology and whatnot, and just seeing habits, behaviors, patterns, and where they stem from. But to identify with certain people and connect with them to the point where, well, Bill, I got to be done with anxiety. Is that even possible? And of course that's possible. There's a whole life to live without anxiety. Let's make it happen. And we come in with this great energy and we're working on it and we address it every single session and whatnot. But it all sparked from the aha moment that came from a seminar and a workshop. And then, you know what? I want to get rid of this. I want life to be different. And the aha moment opens up to it can be whatever you want it to be. Because at that point, your vision comes back to you. All the dreams, everything that we pushed down to try and live a life a certain way to what we were told when we were younger now changes to where, wait a second, life without anxiety and this rock on my chest 100% of the time, that's gone. I can breathe again. I can do whatever I want. It brings the joy and the childlike faith, that potential back where I want to walk that way. I'm going to walk that way and just see where it leads. It's the beauty of it. Yeah.
All right. Two last things. I'll do a summary after this last question. So people want to know what's next. What are you working on? What are you kind of formulating? And so I'll use two words I like. So brainstorming is a lot of this. You and I kind of have the heartstorming stuff too. So it's like it percolates here and then you kind of put it together. So if there's a heartstorming, brainstorming project, maybe a subject that you're working on, maybe a word you're wrestling with, you'd like to send it out. So what's next for the audience from Billy?
Well, Greg, I think you already know this from our past conversations, but I've been in the process of writing a book and I have 2 books. Yeah, right. I knew you'd be ecstatic about that. Right. And so people that they're listening right now or watching right now, Greg and I had a great conversation. That's probably a month, maybe 2 months ago at this point, Greg. And we were talking about books. And as you guys heard, Greg is an author and whatnot. He's written some great books and whatnot. And he sent them to me. I love them. And Greg kept putting out there, well, Bill, I think you should write a book. I think you should write a book. Years ago, prior to me even meeting you, Greg, I started writing 2 different books, 2 different ones. And, the past few weeks or so, I was like, let me go back to one of them and just start diving in. And, maybe it's like 20 pages long right now, just like letting my mind really grow. And the beauty of it is the book called Fiction to Nonfiction is essentially going to be the title. And what that is helping people, again, as we've talked about, of course, this and what I bring to companies and schools, is teaching people how powerful the mind actually is, but how to take the thoughts and everything in here and actually create them. The new age term now is manifestation, but essentially speaking, we were created by a creator. We were created in the image of creator. So we have a gift to create in this life. So to teach people how powerful their mind, their universal tool that I call it, is to really understand how it operates and how it works and how you can shift it to help you create the reality that you're seeking and live this life at this higher level, encompasses everything you and I have talked about, of emotions, of thoughts, of words, of actions, of beliefs you stand on. So that's a book I've been putting together. I can't tell you when that comes out, but that's been in the Microsoft Word going at it, right?
Get the
right? No, and it's a blast writing it. It's a blast writing it. On top of that, we've got speaking gigs coming up, helping more people, helping schools and companies, and just, it's incredible. I love it. I love helping people, and it's where everything's leading.
Billy, it's been great to learn with you, and then the audience gets to learn with me. Like, oh my gosh, I got to hire this guy. So how do they get a hold of you?
Of course. Yeah. So guys, you can find my website, billygLifeCoaching.com. You can see everything about our gigs. You can see everything about our coaching sessions. And if you're interested in coaching, you can set up a free strategy session. You're going to see it right on our website. Set that up. You go right to my calendar. And if you're interested in starting coaching sessions, you get a free half-hour to hour talk with me to identify, 1, if it's a good fit, but 2, identify your goals and what our game plan would be to where we can work on that together and make sure you reach those goals in the time allowed. And that's the coaching. That's the website, guys. You can go to Instagram at Billy J. Ludis. You can check me out, find everything we're posting every single day I like to call them knowledge bombs, but it's essentially helping people, these little areas they can grow with throughout the day and throughout the week. YouTube, as you'll find this video once a week with Billy G, and every single Sunday for the past, we are almost at year 8. Every single Sunday for almost 8 years now, we've put a video out to help you grow, to help you move forward, to help you heal, to help you reach these goals. That's not stopping anytime soon. We haven't stopped for 8 years. It's not stopping anytime soon. So there's plenty of different options.
So that content is on YouTube, and they can find it, and it just drops if they subscribe to it, right?
Oh yeah, if they subscribe, every single Sunday we have a new video where we have so this Sunday is going to be, at the time of filming this, is Christmas Eve. So we have an entire Christmas special we do every single year that's coming out this Sunday. It's going to drop right in the morning. But yeah, every single Sunday we're bringing you a new video to help you through the rest of your week.
So I had a few ahas today interviewing you, and that's what's so fun to learn. Like, just have a discussion. Like, what's your passion? What are your goals? And then we've heard today, as the audience will hear, you're really calling out their goals. So I had a pastor friend of mine. We were going down in a kind of a seedy area. It's plight and boarded up, and people on the sidewalk not doing well in life. And I'll just leave that description alone. And he just leans over to me. He goes, they didn't want this. And I was like, what? They didn't start with this in mind. And Billy, I think that's what you bring when you speak to a company or a school. When you're working or you're studying as a student or you're working as an employee, you didn't want this. You didn't want that rock, that boulder on the chest. It's there. Yes, let's acknowledge it. But when we drove past, I really felt convicted. I'm like, yeah, I mean, he tried drugs and then he ends up like this. Wow.
Yeah.
Or she decided to go into alcohol and then had to do other things to pay for things, and she lost her job. And you're like, I know that wasn't her intention.
Right.
I think that's what you're calling out to students and employees, leaders on both sides, like school or business. We didn't intend to have a boulder on our chest with anxiety.
Right.
We don't sign up for paralysis of analysis.
Yeah.
So when they hire you, Billy, I think they're going to see that just pulling the veil away a little bit.
Yeah.
Sun comes in like it's coming in on your shoulder right there.
Trying to stay away from the glare.
Wow, like there's an angel coming and to talk about Mary and Jesus and Joseph again.
Awesome.
So as we finish up, maybe give a little sound bite, a short little vignette on what you'd like 24 to be as you serve others, as you share and speak. What would you like to do?
It's phenomenal. I always use the phrase, and I've said this probably from day one, helping people is the name of the game. I think that's exactly what we're called to do, what we're here to do. We're meant to use our gifts and help everyone else out, continue to find their gifts, but make their life and this life a better place. That's you taking the light that's in you, shining on me right now, and shining it into other people's lives. So 2024 to me, I think it's going to be the greatest year yet. I really do. I'm ecstatic for the year, not in just the sense of speaking to companies and schools and getting to share great messages to audiences, but just the reach, just being able to impact people and help them. It's been building from day one of me starting my own business and growing it from maybe one client to a handful of clients to audiences to where we are now and everything in between. But it's been growing in such a way, it's only getting better and better and better and better. And that's reached schools, companies, that's even reached churches at times. And it's just, why not? Why not make the upcoming year the best year of your life? And that to me is the decision that's on all of us. That should be the rock on your chest. Why not? And then you, as you said, you acknowledge it, you identify it, and you're like, how can it be? Let's make it happen. And you start to take action towards it.
All right. So audience, get with Billy G. He, whether you're a school or a business, you didn't tell me to say this, but I think you're a hope dealer.
Appreciate that.
Because mental health, on the negative of mental health, it's hopeless. It's, is it going to go away? Can I get out of this valley? I have a lot of regrets. I don't know if I have what it takes. And you're a hope dealer. And a lot of people in schools or businesses want to be that dealer, but they can't, or won't, or shouldn't, depending on their role, et cetera. So to bring you in, what a great way to kind of shake the tree.
Right.
The roots go a little deeper when you shake a tree,
Yeah.
So Billy, it's been a privilege to get to know you. Hopefully the audience will start calling you, and maybe 24, you'll be like, hey, Greg, I can't talk to you for 12 months. I'm so busy, but that would be a great gift, brother. It's a pleasure. Thank you so much.
It's been a blast, Greg. I appreciate your time and I appreciate your questions, because I hope someone takes it and runs with it, with whatever we talked about.
We got to help people, man. I love that line. I got to peace out, and good luck to the Patriots.
Yeah, I hope so.
Peace out.
Awesome. That was perfect.
You know I've been around and doing it, but now it's my time to shine and start proving it. I'm losing it, I'm moving it. The city is where I'm made, Bostonian flow, I kick it a back day. Yeah, I got game, God in a fan way. We the city of the champs, every sport we play. Spit wetter than the harbor, yeah, I'm flowing like the Charles. I be speeding on this beat, call it turnpike miles. Yeah, it's Bugle signing on, John to the Hancock.